Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Nigerian Air Force neutralizes terrorist hideout in Borno State in continuation of its Operation Green Sweep 3. Mixed feelings continue to trail the partial closure of Nigeria land borders. Tonight, a look at how motorists and businesses are coping along the Katsina and Kwara axis. 24 hours to the commencement of the reconstruction of the Berga-Kara end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. A look at the state of the alternative routes. And Hurricane Dorian makes landfall in northwest Bahamas as a powerful Category 5 storm, the strongest in modern history of the area. For more information on our top stories, please visit our websites, channelstv.com, and youtube.com/channelsweb has videos of our shows. All the girls kidnapped by Boko Haram would have been released a long time ago if the political will to act existed and there was no complicity involving some interested parties. That's according to the national chairman of the Middle Belt Forum, Dr. Beatrice Pogo. He told Channels Television's Ladi Akeredoluale on our current affairs program Newsnight that elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark had initiated a plan which was to lead to the release of the girls. He says the plan was scuttled for political reasons and that the situation persists till today.
They reached out to the Boko Haram. The Boko Haram insisted that they have about 11 of their commanders held in Nigerian prisons. If those people were released, they would release the girls because the girls were a burden to them. Now, the negotiations continued. They were able to identify 4 of the 11 they demanded. Unfortunately, the 4 happened to be all Fulani. And from his report, this thing is in public knowledge. I can give you a copy because he gave me a copy, which he gave at his 92nd birthday. He said that because some forces in Maiduguri were not happy with the 4 being all Fulani, that the Kanuri commanders were not released. They intervened and stopped Boko Haram from releasing the girls. So it means the girls are there. That is one. It means there are forces in Maiduguri who are in connivance or in some relationship with the Boko Haram. Otherwise, how would they influence the release of the girls negatively?
You can watch the full interview with Dr. Pogo on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow, Monday, September 2nd at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. The federal government has given promises to victims of the flood-ravaged community in Daura, Katsina State that more help is coming. The government is in a statement by its spokesperson, Garba Shehu, lists some of the relief materials already available to the victims, to include 10 trailer loads of building materials. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has promised to provide victims with more relief materials. According to the agency, this will come as soon as the assessment of the damage to the communities is done. Lagos State provides free education to more than 1 million pupils in more than 1,000 primary schools, but its public school story is not near perfect. Our correspondent Dario Duri reports that infrastructure, human and physical development are still work in progress, considering the state's elastic population.
It's the holiday season for school children, an experience alien to their counterparts who are of school age but are not privileged to go to school. In Nigeria, there are more than 10 million of them. The Minister of Education, during his reappointment screening at the Senate, says the public primary school story is a sad one.
We concluded a study. We have about 10,475,031 out-of-school children in Nigeria, and it is still the highest. But the work to reduce this is for the states. And The federal government is not in a position to force the states to do so.
Poor primary school enrollment is a problem, but the quality of education the enrolled pupils are getting is another. From the north to the south, there are stories of pupils in makeshift classrooms, poor sanitation, yet willing to learn one word at a time.
Let's answer. Let's answer. Let's go. Let's.
One of those stories is that of the pupils. The school proprietor in Makoko, a neighborhood across the Third Mainland Bridge, runs a hybrid of public and private school. It says it charges next to nothing considering its environment.
We have an experience of many guys here who are touts, who are area boys, and we believe that it's because most of them they lack proper education at the initial stage of life. So we're like, okay, what can we do? So this thing will not going to repeat itself. So we're like, okay, let's bring education to the children, because someone said that charity begins at home, and it's better to catch them young. We're able to teach them good moral at the early life of theirs. They will grow with that, and the issue of criminality, armed robbery in the society and the community will be minimized.
Joy Ademulegun, a social worker, inspired by stories she's read, says she's on a mission to help children, especially those in communities like Makoko, have access to quality methods of teaching.
We have several of those kids who cannot read and write, even at age 15. Reading could be very difficult if you are using the alphabetical means. So we decided to use the phonics means, the Jolly phonics, and the Montessori means of teaching. And so far, so good. It's been a fantastic journey.
Let's ice eat. Let's ice eat. Let's ice.
This is a church, but for now it is serving other purpose than a place of worship. These children from ages 3 to 13 are learning how to read. And for their teachers, it is not the best learning condition, but for now, knowledge is being imparted. High poverty level has been identified as factors affecting primary school education and also contributing to poor school enrollment. But with states stepping up to the plate, the numbers can be reduced drastically. Daredu, Channels Television News.
To an entirely different sort of education, there are now more than 4 billion people connected to the internet. The United Nations reveals that the majority of internet users are youths. While some individuals and businesses have found positive ways to use the internet to create value and wealth, others manipulate technology, software and hardware to commit advanced crime. How fast can traditional policing techniques evolve to secure consumers? And how can nations also correct the negative perception caused by the activities of citizens involved in digital crime? With me now on the news tonight to analyze the facts is Babajide Ogusowo, Channels Television's information consultant. Thanks for being here. Now, our ball is back.
Oh, yes, it is.
So what's the impact of the global internet fraud, and how can Nigeria change the negative perception caused by some citizens involved in cybercrime?
Well, the impact runs into trillions of dollars. But I'd like to start from a slightly different perspective, and that is, how can you protect, Amarachi, the millions of dollars you have in your account from online scammers?
I do have millions of dollars. I didn't know about that.
But whatever you have, how can Nigerians protect the money they have in their accounts from online scammers? What can they look out for? And I'll share some of that with you tonight. But before then, I'd like to start with the solutions to digital crime before we even talk more about the problems. And I'll share a short story with you. When I was a kid, a younger man, I used to like that favorite game, hide and seek, police and thief. And my favorite role was to be the policeman. And that was because I knew how my younger friends would think. They would either hide under mommy's bed or in the wardrobe or behind the curtains. In other words, the lesson is to catch a thief, you have to think like a thief. Fast forward, today, we no longer hold those principles important. Today, to catch a digital thief, you and the government must also think like digital thieves. And that is one thing that we need to do. To catch a thief, you need to think like a thief. That's one. The second thing I would like to talk about is the concern which you had mentioned about the negative perception that all of this is creating. Let's look at what the president had said. He had talked about only a minority of Nigerians are really causing the change and the sentiments, the negative sentiments that has resulted in people feeling that a lot of Nigerians are involved in cybercrime. But what does the evidence show? The evidence shows us that just a few Nigerians, the minority of Nigerians, even travel. So out of the 200 million Nigerians we have today, only 1.5 million passport-carrying Nigerians travel. And that is the evidence that we have. So clearly, what we need to do is to be able to change the perception that this is creating and then be able to look at that fact that genuinely only minority of Nigerians are causing the challenges we face today.
Well, that's because Nigerians are generally good people anyway. I mean, we do have, a good attitude and good characteristics and all that. But how many Nigerians really are even online in the first place? And then what are the challenges and the opportunities? And then how can the online police reduce these incidents of cybercrime?
So we have some Nigerians that are online that are doing good business. And we also have some that are not doing so much of good business. In all, the evidence shows that we have over 120 million Nigerians. But the fact shows us that half of online Nigerians are located in only 10 states. So let's take a quick look at the 10 states that we have a lot of online activities in Nigeria. And that is Lagos. If we look at that fact, we have a lot of Nigerians online in Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Kano, Kaduna. In the North Central, we have Niger State. We also have Abuja as well, and then we're also able to see that in Rivers, Delta, and Edo State, we have a lot of young Nigerians that are doing a lot of online activities there. But if we also consider what are these Nigerians doing online, a lot of them are involved in gaming, involved in entertainment, and a lot more.
Coding also.
In coding as well. But if we're also to look at certain things about digital crime, remember what Dr. Martin Luther King said 6.5 decades ago, 1954. He says, man needs to move from becoming a scientific genius to becoming a moral genius. So one of the challenges we have today is our moral values we need to discover. We need to rediscover those lost values. Yes, we need better cyber policing. We need to look at our legal framework, but we also need to be able to look at how we grow moral values. And you know, Amarachi, moral values starts from the family, not just necessarily the government.
So how can I protect the millions of dollars you say I have in my account?
Let's look at the top 3 facts. Let's look at the top 3 facts. And if you look at the top 3 facts, it will show Nigerians one of the things they need to do. The first is we have enough evidence that shows that digital crime is not like trade. It's not secured just by the border. So unlike trade of goods that is done through the borders, digital crime has no borders. So you have to be careful about those emails that you send out and those emails that you receive. In other words, you need to also start having softwares on your system that will protect you from malicious tools that this online cyber thieves use. The second is, if we look at how many, the techniques of this digital scammers, their number one technique is emails. So every day, 5 billion fake emails are being sent out. Every day. Just think about that for a moment.
Needs to be observant.
So you need to be observant. And now, how do you protect the millions of dollars or the little money you might have in your account? The evidence shows there are some keywords that these online scammers use when they are sending emails. Now, let's look at some of the keywords that will protect you, and those are the words that you should focus on. Words like payments, urgent, request, attention, important, confidential, immediate response, transfer, and important updates. Now, whenever you get an email that has some of these words, you need to be careful before you reply.
It triggers something in your head to respond.
So you now know how you protect your money. Be careful when you get those emails. Look out for these keywords: payment, important update, transfer. Those are the words that the evidence from Ernst & Young has shown that the online scammers use. But again, you remember what we said when we started? To catch a thief,
You have to think like one.
so to catch a digital thief, we now need to ensure that our traditional policemen move on to become thinkers.
Well, I don't have those millions of dollars you're talking about, Babajide. Maybe you do, and I'm sure you're already protecting your account.
But now you know what keywords to look out for, and those are the keywords all Nigerians should look out for.
Thank you
but
so
ahead,
much.
clearly the days ahead look brighter than the days behind us. If we are able to review our thinking, and if we're able to improve the training for our policemen so that they are no longer trained as traditional policemen who are securing borders, they are trained with better mindsets.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing this bull very much in the future. Thanks again for joining us on the
And you know
News
the
at
pleasure
10.
is always mine.
When the News at 10 returns, a federal government commenced the concessioning of Asaba Airport, says it's in line with its plan to concession major operations at airports across the country. Join us again.